Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty interesting topic, and that is transracial and transgender. Is it really a thing? And if one can identify as a different sex or a gender, why can't they also identify as a different race? We're going to be going over some videos that I found that are pretty hilarious, exposing, I guess, the holes in the whole gender ideology movement, with, of course, my favorite demographic, liberal college students. So without further ado, let's get into the first video clip.
What's up guys, Aldo here with PragerU. Today I'm at UCLA to ask students about blackface and this new phenomenon of woman face. Why is it socially acceptable to be transgender, but not transracial? Let's go find out. I wanna show you a couple pictures of prominent figures rocking blackface and get your reaction to it. Is that all right?
Very interesting. I did not, okay.
This is Rachel Dolezal, who was a president of a chapter of NAACP, who identified as transracial. She said that she was born in the wrong body and that she identified as black. This is Ted Danson at the Friars Club Roast in New York City. This is Sarah Silverman in blackface on her TV show. Yeah. What do you think of when you see these images?
It's not good. It's really bad.
Do you think people can identify as a certain race?
No, I do not believe you can identify as a certain race.
So do you think identifying as a different race is offensive?
This is a very good question. I think, I don't know. You can't become something that is recognized off of skin color if you weren't that skin color your whole life.
Right, because it's biological.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that people who claim transracial are making a mockery of real black people?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about woman face. Have you guys heard the term woman face?
No.
Have you heard this term? So this is men who identify as women and then they benefit socially and financially from many cases. Do you guys know Dylan Mulvaney?
No.
So he transitioned, and after he transitioned to a woman, he has millions of dollars in brand deals. You have Leah Thomas, who has William Thomas, ranked very low on the swimmer scoreboards. After transitioning, was #1 in the country.
It's bullshit to me that you reap benefits for something you're not.
I think that is a completely different story. Being transgender is something where you can genuinely be born with different biological features or whatever, and that doesn't contribute to gender or like societal norms at all. I think those are two completely different things.
Is woman face offensive?
I don't think that's woman face. I think those are people who were born in the wrong bodies, who are becoming themselves.
So if you can identify with a different gender, why can't you identify with a different race?
The biological side of it, because race has no biological connections whatsoever. It's purely based off of physical appearances.
I just asked you if it was biological. You said yes.
Is recognized off of skin color if you weren't that skin color your whole
Right,
life.
because it's biological.
Mm-hmm. Or I mean, sex has biological backings, but gender is not. Gender is a spectrum.
Why is it socially acceptable to be transgender, but it's not socially acceptable to be transracial?
I think that's like they're very different things. I think that like I don't know how to phrase this in a way, but I would say like is.
I wouldn't say I'm educated enough to have the proper definition of like separating the two.
But what about like how Rachel Dolezal, she said that she was born in the wrong body, that she really is black. Why is that any different than being born in the wrong body and being a woman or a man?
I don't know how to explain it, but I know that it is.
I feel like people, they have the freedom to do what they want.
Is that an endorsement of transracialism?
Kind of got me, huh?
Do you see the hypocrisy here?
I do see the hypocrisy, but I don't think the hypocrisy is like, I'm not trying, how do I phrase this?
Maybe it's like, if I want to be a dragon, I can just be a dragon or something.
Why is it socially acceptable for people to identify as a different gender, but it's not socially acceptable for people to identify as a different race?
Well, I don't know. That's a great question.
I hear a lot of people on this campus today that say the black face is wrong, but the woman face is totally acceptable. Why is there a double standard for race and gender?
That I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
So I love how he set this up, right? How he set up the absurdity of somebody like Rachel Dolezal, who is a white woman, identifying as a black woman, and how crazy that sounds and how crazy that is. And of course, everybody was on board. Yeah, that's insane. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. You can't change your biology. The one girl said, you can't just be something else. Skin color matters, which is linked to your biology. And then of course he goes into the real theme of the video, which is, well then what about transgender? Isn't it kind of the same thing? We're talking about biology here. We're talking about somebody who identifies as something that they were not born as, that they cannot biologically change. But yet society says You're good to go. Why the hypocrisy? And I love that some of them were just absolutely stumped. It was like, can I call a friend? Like, no, there's no friend to be called. You have to answer the question. You know what it kind of reminds me of, and it's kind of funny? So my dad is a devout Christian. He is a Baptist. He grew up in the church. He became a pastor. And on Saturday mornings, we would have the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on our door. And, you know, most people would just like slam the door in their face. No, I'm not interested. Get out. My dad, being the teacher that he is, would literally open the door for them, have a conversation with them, and let them say their piece about their position. He would listen to them. And then they would ask him, do you have any questions? He would say, actually, I do. Give me 1 second. And then he would go and grab the Bible. And then he would sit there and he would challenge them on their very beliefs. Now, normally with Jehovah's Witnesses is they will come with two people. One is the trainee and the other is the elder. And so the trainee will be the one knocking on the door and doing all the talking, and the elder will be watching, you know, watching them in training pretty much. And so my dad would sit there and like point out contradictions within their theology and question them. Well, you said this, but the Bible says this. And he would like go into different scriptures and go into like the in-depth, you know, like meat of the word. And they were just like, and so my dad would literally challenge them, not argue with them. He always came in love, but he would challenge them on each point that they would make. And they would be stunned. They would be like stumped, like literally. And he would talk to them for like an hour. I remember like as a kid, my dad would be in the hallway of the apartment building talking to these Jehovah's Witnesses and challenging them on things that they're saying and asking them probing questions that they could not answer. And it would get to the point where they would just be like, you know what? Have a good day. And they would just leave because they couldn't argue the points that he was making. And this reminds you of that so much. He's not like fighting with them. He's not being mean. He's just asking them logical questions and seeing what they got to say about it. And I like that because when you are indoctrinated, a lot of times you're in an echo chamber and everyone around you sounds the same. Everybody around you agrees with you and there's no dissension. And the moment you bring somebody like this guy on campus asking critical thinking questions, code red, somebody help. So I think it's really funny. Now, this next clip is actually from 7 years ago, but watching it is still so incredibly relevant to what is happening today. Take a look.
There's been a lot of talk about identity lately, but how far does it go? And is it possible to be wrong? We went to the University of Washington to find out.
Are you aware of the debate happening in Washington State around the ability to access bathrooms, locker rooms, spas based on gender identity and gender expression?
I think people should be able to have access to the facility.
I think bathrooms could and potentially should be gender neutral because there doesn't need to be a classification for differences.
I think people definitely should have the ability to go into whichever locker room they want.
I feel like at least public universities should do their best to accommodate for those who do not have a specific gender identity.
You know, whether you identify as male or female and whether your sex at birth is matching to that, you should be able to utilize the resources.
So if I told you that I was a woman, what would your response be?
Good for you. Okay. Like, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
I'd be like, what? Really?
I don't have a problem with it.
I'd ask you how you came to that conclusion.
If I told you that I was Chinese, what would your response be?
I mean, I might be a little surprised, but I would say, good for you. Like, yeah, be who you are.
I would maybe think you had some Chinese ancestor.
I would ask you how you similarly came to that conclusion and why you came to that conclusion.
I would have a lot of questions just because on the outside I would assume that you're a white man.
If I told you that I was 7 years old, what would your response be?
I wouldn't believe that immediately.
I probably wouldn't believe it, but I mean, it wouldn't really bother me that much to go out of my way and tell you, no, you're wrong. I'd just be like, oh, okay, he wants to say he's 7 years old.
If you feel 7 at heart, then then so be it. Yeah, good for you.
So if I wanted to enroll in a first grade class, do you think I should be allowed to?
Probably not, I guess. I mean, unless you haven't completed first grade up to this point and for some reason need to do that now.
If that's where you feel like mentally you should be, then I feel like there are communities that would accept you for that.
I would say so long as you're not hindering society and you're not causing harm to other people, I feel like that should be an okay thing.
If I told you I'm 6 feet 5 inches, what would you say?
That I would question.
Why?
Because you're not. No, I don't think you're 6'5".
If you truly believed you're 6'5", I don't think it's harmful. I think it's fine if you believe that. It doesn't matter to me if you think you're taller than you are.
So you'd be willing to tell me I'm wrong?
I wouldn't tell you you're wrong.
No, but I say that I don't think that you are.
I feel like that's not my place as like another human to say someone is wrong or to draw lines or boundaries.
No, I mean, I wouldn't just go like, oh, you're wrong, like that's wrong to believe in it. Because I mean, again, it doesn't really bother me what you want to think about your height or anything.
So I can be a Chinese woman.
You. Sure.
But I can't be a 6'5" Chinese woman.
Yes.
If you thoroughly debated me or explained why you felt that you were 6'5", I feel like I would be very open to saying that you were 6'5", or Chinese, or a woman.
Wow. 7 years ago, guys. 7 years ago, and this is still so relevant to 2023. Isn't that scary? How, like, delusional these college kids were and probably still are when it comes to these questions and what they're answering. That one girl who was so afraid to say, yeah, you would be wrong. Like, she just couldn't do it. It was like, okay, if you're 7, you're 7. Okay, if you're Chinese, you're Chinese. Okay, if you're a woman that's 6'4", perfectly fine. Like, is this where we've become as a society where we're so afraid to correct people? My mind is blown. And here's the thing about race, right? When it comes to race actually is more of a social construct than gender is. And I've actually talked on this before on my channel. So if you're a biracial person or you're triracial like myself, or you're somebody who's just really mixed, most likely you're gonna have different ethnicities and races and nationalities within you. All you gotta do is look at your 23andMe or your Ancestry DNA results, and you're definitely going to see different sections and different races percentage-wise that you have. So in theory, you definitely can say that my racial identity is more on a spectrum because I'm 30% this, I'm 20% that. That's different versus sex and biology, where there's no such thing as being 30% male, you know what I'm saying, and the rest female. No, like 99% of the population is born with XY or XX. A very small percentage is intersexed or has different sex chromosomes, and that is called a birth defect. But majority are born with either sex within the binary. Like my own DNA, and I've shared it before on this channel, I am mixed with almost everything. Like every continent, a little piece of me is linked to it. So technically I can identify as whatever I want to identify as because my race is so mixed. The fact that like we put gender on the same spectrum is just interesting to me. It's really interesting. Which takes me to my next clip, which is of course the ultimate troll who I freaking love, Piers Morgan.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. A county politician in Indiana, in the United States, is making headlines this week by, well, exploring his identity.
A councilman is coming out as transgender and a woman of color. Delaware County Councilman Ryan Webb announced that he now identifies as an Indian American woman. Since that announcement, he's received some support, but a lot of backlash. Many calling him childish, despicable, even calling for things like execution.
Yeah, that's always how the woke left responds, isn't it? You must execute him. Now, he issued a statement after the furore, Ryan Webb. He said, after much consideration, I've decided to come out and finally feel comfortable announcing my true, authentic self. This is Ryan Webb. He said, it is with great relief that I announce to everyone that I identify as a woman, not just any woman, but as a woman of colour as well. I guess this would make me gay lesbian as well, since I'm attracted to women. Whew, that felt good to finally get back out there and start living my life as my true self. Well, Ms. Webb's statement has not been met with the empathy and gushing support normally extended by the woke community. Some have even demanded that he resign. They resign.
Feel that he has basically made a hate speech in this post on April 11th. And I feel that he should resign. And if he doesn't, I would look at county council to talk to legal and see what they can do about removing him, because he has created some hate and discord and divide with the transgender population here in Muncie.
He must be executed, he must be cancelled, he must be fired. It's the usual predictable response to what was obviously a joke, but it was a smart joke, because actually what it did was expose the farce of limitless self-identity. I myself identified on International Women's Day as a black lesbian. Why shouldn't I be able to, if you can identify as anything you want? Esther's cackle when I said that went around the world. Well, Ryan Webb joins me now, alongside Talk TV's Nicola Thorpe and Esther Cracker, as I just said. Well, Ryan, thank you for joining me. So I did chuckle because I had a similar thing myself, which you may or may not have heard about, when I did a similar stunt. But you were making the same point, I think, which is if we really want to have a world where anyone can identify as anything, well, why shouldn't you be able to identify as a woman of colour?
Well, Pierce, you're absolutely right. And I appreciate it. I want to thank you for bringing me on the show. And as a fellow lesbian woman of color, I feel we have a deep connection here. But you're right. They've laid the groundwork. They set it up where anybody can be anything that they want just by simply declaring it. And, that's what we're doing here. And it turns out that they don't really feel as strongly about that and believe it in their soul as they would make you believe.
This is the type of trolling that I am 1000% here for. I freaking love it so much because they're literally playing by the same rules that the woke left is playing by. I mean, according to the woke left, if you simply say I identify as, we all must respect your identity. It doesn't matter if you're a 6-foot man with a beard. You can use the ladies' room because you identify as a woman. Done. So why can't this logic also be used, right? A congressman or a councilman who now identifies as an Indian American woman who's a lesbian. Why not? If in his head he believes that delusion, then we are all supposed to affirm how he believes. But look how quickly the left gets upset. They want to cancel him. Death threats. He should be jailed. Oh my God, this is insane. This is so wrong. You know why it's so insane and so wrong? Because he's exposing the ridiculousness of your ideology that you cannot explain yourself. And that's why you want him to shut the hell up. Because you know that every time he speaks, it only weakens your perspective and your arguments, which makes zero sense. If you're all about inclusivity, that should include this councilman. But it doesn't. Why? If Pierce wants to be a black lesbian, let him be a black lesbian, for crying out loud. Why not? Why does it end there? Why? Who makes the rules? Apparently nobody. Oh, you guys, these videos, they just come to me. Like, I don't even need to do the work. They're just there. The crazy is there, and I just react to it. That's all that I have to do. And it's too easy. It's too easy because the insanity just keeps growing and growing and growing, and we are all supposed to just watch and nod our heads like a cult and say, yes, I agree. In reality, it is really sad because this is a real condition that's happening in the mindsets of so many young people and is infiltrating so much so in college campuses like wildfire, like a virus, you know? And I guess the only way to combat it is to ask logical, critical thinking questions like we see here and allow these kids to truly think about what it is that they're saying and how ridiculous it sounds. And maybe if they see themselves and they hear back to what they have to say, they'll realize how ridiculous they look and sound. Not everything and not everyone needs to be affirmed. There is a such thing as reality. And to say that is not offensive. If you enjoy this content, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit my notification bell so you know when I post a new video. Just hit 80,000 subscribers. I'm at a loss for words. All I can say is I love you guys so friggin' much. I'm also available on TikTok and on Instagram under CurlyBoyChuck, where I'm continuously being canceled every single day just for you. Literally, just for you. Also available on Rumble under CurlyBoyChuck. I'm going to have a referral link in my description. If you guys do not have Rumble, definitely go ahead and click on the link, add it to your desktop or your tablet, your phone. Add me and let's fight woke culture together. Until next time, peace.